나오고요.
네. 야, 수원 삼성이 거의 대번째 골이나 다름없는 상황이었는데.
김보경 가볍게 왼발로 맞습니다. 자, 막혔어요. 슛! 다시 막힙니다.
굉장히 크거든요.
네.
코너킥 이후에 뒤쪽으로 흘렀고
인슈팅 일단 좋았고요. 여기서 김대욱 선수 맞고 나왔고 문선민 오버헤드 바이시클
넘어졌을 때 그대로 절대로 밀어내는 선한 교차 섀도 오늘도 지금의 위협적인 장면에서
마지막 순간에 또 실수가 또 없어야 되는 상황. 이렇게 공간 들어갑니다. 이동준의 비기입니다. 걸어냈습니다. 이렇게 열광하는 거는 정말 오랜만인 것 같은데요.
지금 송봉구 키퍼가 골문을 비우고 나서 확실히 처리돼야 되는데 자 갑니다. 가는데요. 야 지금도 가운데로 반신작전 차긴 했는데
예.
발끝으로 이걸 막아냈어요.
이승기 전북 2대1. South Korea have scored. Can you believe it? Germany are going out of this World Cup. Kim Yong-kwon.
공동입니다. 역전을 만듭니다. 2점의 갈비를.
Winners of the AFC Champions League 2020, Ulsan Hyundai.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, I'm going to say Ryan Walters in the Kim Do-hoon bunker. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's always been the Kim Do-hoon bunker. We've always loved it being in the Kim Do-hoon bunker. And we'll talk about why that's such a big deal shortly, because I'm joined this week, as always, by Matthew Binns.
Hello.
And in enemy territory, we've got Sam Robson.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's behind enemy lines, but I'm here to represent the J-League.
That's right. Well, we're excited to have you. We're excited to have a J-League team in there. I think I was talking about how I wanted it to be 4 Korean teams just so we could ensure that one would make it to the final, but that's not a ton of fun. But anyway, as I alluded to at the beginning, we've got to get into this. And Sam, I know this is near and dear to your heart as well. Kim Do-hoon has won a domestic title for the first time. Congratulations to him and the Lion City Sailors. That's their maiden title. And how can you not love a team named the Lion City Sailors?
It sounds magnificent to me.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, they've had different names, but very ambitious project going on there. And I know I have not always had the kindest things to say about Kim Do-hoon and his tactics, but legitimately happy for him and for a Singaporean team to win that title, because it's been a Japanese-based team. And we're just getting off on the right foot for you there, Sam.
Absolutely. First jabs in.
We're just getting those jabs in early. But yeah, as you might figure, we've got Sam here this week because we are going to be talking about the AFC Champions League Quarter-Finals happening in Jeonju. And the semifinals are happening down there as well. But we'll come back next week to talk about that. And I'll be all suited up, looking nice and fancy for that. But we're going to be starting out talking about the early match. And when I say early, I mean it's on at 2 p.m. That'll be the Pohang Steelers versus Nagoya Grampus. And after we chat with Sam, we do have an interview that Paul Neat did with Alex Grant. And we'll play that almost in full. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a team that we talk about every week. Can't stop talking about them. We can't stop talking about the team that they're facing. It's going to be Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors at home versus Ulsan Hyundai. The game that just won't end.
Here we go again.
And again. But aside from Matthew's insights, we did get a little bit from Dan Croydon, who's on holiday on Goje Island down south here in Korea, one of the lovely islands down south. And we'll hear from him, and we'll also hear from Stanislav Iljutcenko. So all sorts of things coming up before we get into the mailbag. But again, we're going to get started with ACL after Matthew tells you some things to look forward to on KLeague.com.
Yeah, there's a number of things coming up this week on kleague.com. There is Jeonbuk Hyundai's interview that's out now. That's with Paul Neat. And Ulsan's desire to beat Jeonbuk. Well, yeah, we can hear his words. And then you can hear the countering words from Hong Jong-ho and Stanislav Iljutcenko with the interviews. Stanislav Iljutcenko's interview from today on this podcast, plus a written interview with Hong Jong-ho. They'll also be on kleague.com this week. Plus, there is the Alex Grant interview that you hear today, the full version of that's going on patreon.com. You can get the full 22-minute interview with Paul and Alex on there. And then Kang Sang-woo is also to follow later this week, an audio interview with him and a written interview as well. We also have Vako, Ulsan's Vako to... It's somewhere in here as well. There's just interviews galore this week in the build-up to the AFC Champions League. They'll all be in written form. A lot of them will be in audio form as well. I think we'll try our best to get that out either as a podcast extra this week or it'll be out on YouTube for sure. But yes, there's that interview coming up. Keep an eye out for that. It's just he was a bit busy at the moment. Paul's doing it later this week. Finally, away from the Champions League, but where the party is at, it's the K-League 2, and just as Ryan decided to curse them last week by saying Busan were on the rise, Busan are very much no longer. A loss at the weekend has probably killed all of Busan's promotion hopes, and Thomas Marc Antonio has got an editorial piece on Busan about the state of their rebuild.
I'm not going to pretend to be upset about it. Go on, Jeonam. Get those very legitimate penalties at the end of the game that we're not talking about it this week. Instead, let's talk about another team that doesn't allow a lot of goals. Maybe not on the level of the Jeonnam Dragons. It's not like Mitch Langerak setting records for clean sheets or anything over there in Japan. Let's get started, Sam. Let's talk about Nagoya Grampus. This is the team that K-League fans will know from the group stage. That Pohang did okay against them. A 3-0 loss was not great, but then they did come back and get a 1-1 draw in the group stage. So familiar foes, but how have things been going for them domestically since then?
Yeah, very well, actually. You mentioned the clean sheet record. Mitch Langerak and his defence have got 19 clean sheets in 32 league games, smashed their record from last season. So yeah, that's not bad. They're fourth in the J League. They're level on points with third, so it's right in the hunt for the ACL place, and they're fighting on all cylinders. They've got a Levain Cup final to look forward to, and the quarterfinals of this ACL and the Emperor's Cup. So yeah, it's going really well. 11 wins out of the last 15, so they've come into this game in red hot form.
That's not what we like to hear around here, but that is very good for them. And we were talking about this a little bit before we came on, that they're usually a very defensive team, but they were a lot of fun. They've been a lot of fun in ACL, and for neutrals, and even for those of us that are hoping for Pohang to win this, I think we want it to be entertaining. So in order for that to happen, who would you say is the key player for them in all this?
Well, not necessarily for excitement, but the key player for them is Sho Inagaki in midfield. I mean, he's the midfield general in there. He's the one that breaks up the play. I mean, the defense is very rarely left exposed when he's there. But this season, I mean, he's added goals to his game. He's the second top scorer with 10 from a holding midfield role, which I don't know, that's probably suggests what Nagoya's focus is more defensively than anything else. But yeah, he's a terrific box-to-box player. And yeah, if he plays well, I mean, he got what turned out to be the winning goal in the League Cup at the weekend. So yeah, he's their main man and vital to the midfield. And Pohang going to have to get a grip on him, I think, if they're going to get anything from the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also say, excuse me, he's also fantastic in FIFA. It was massive for me in my career when I was over there with Nagoya. I know that's the important thing for these real life things. And like you say, I think that is going to be a massive battle for them in the midfield for Pohang to try to shut him down. Is that where you see this match being won and lost, is in the midfield?
Yeah, that's really where Nagoya's main strength is, because I know the games, and if you're looking at it just from the ACL, you think they're quite an attacking team and whatnot, but really it's based on holding. They want to keep a clean sheet. 0-0 for them after 70 minutes is a pretty good result usually. And the only other battle is they've got one player in Mateus, who is their attacking outlet. They will go to him for everything. He'll take all the set pieces. Every sort of counter-attack will go through him. So, again, that's the other one. If Pohang can shut Mateus down, often that really stunts the attack. They might just occasionally they will stumble to 0-0 draws where they just can't break anyone down. So yeah, stop Mateus, stop Inagaki, and you're maybe halfway there to stopping Nagoya.
And we would be remiss if we didn't. I said his name properly last time. Got a hat trick last time out. Sverchuk.
Your guess is as good as mine. I go fair shot.
Excellent.
Who knows? Yeah, he came in from Plast Gliwice in Poland. I've messed that up. Yeah, he had a terrific game against Daegu, but surprisingly, he doesn't start that often for Nagoya. You'd have thought a player like him, yeah, he'd be on there, but Yoichiro Kakitani continues to play to my hatred and disgust. But yeah, Sverchuk, you might see him, you might not, and I mean, on form, he's fantastic, but I don't think he necessarily fits in with the kind of defense-first mantra of the manager. He's not the one that's going to close players down at the back. He's not going to put in too much effort into the defensive side, so you might not see him from the start. But yeah, when he gets on, he's a terrific finisher.
And with that in mind, like, do you see them setting up uber defensively in this one? Because I know against Daegu, I mean, and what a game that was. That had the advantage of home field advantage in a way. It was at least in Japan, whereas now they're the only team that has to travel internationally from the East. Do you think that that's going to lead them to kind of bunker and try to shut things down that way?
I do think so, and I think they would have done in the last game, but Daegu caught them cold, so they were chasing the game almost immediately. So they were forced into a much more attacking and a ding-dong game, and they are quite good at that when they get drawn into it. They do have good attacking players once they release, but yeah, first things first, he will try and shut that game down, try and nullify Pohang and hit them on the counter-attack.
Yeah. Well, look at me right now, Kang Sang-woo. Score early, because it was entertaining last time, so please make that happen. We'll get to the predictions in a little bit, and we'll let Matthew speak again. For those of you that are watching the live show, you're just getting the facial expressions and reactions of Matthew Binns. For those of you listening to the podcast, he is here. Don't worry. But we have an early mailbag question that's for you, Sam. This one came in via the DMs on Instagram. Somebody sliding into the DMs there. And, well, you knew what you were getting into when you came onto this show. And they're asking, what's going on with the J-League in this competition? I expected more from the likes of Osaka and especially Frontale this year. Do you think they'll be back stronger in 2022? And that's from Patrick via Instagram.
I've got to hope so. I think Vissel Kobe will probably be in it next season. They've got so many good players. And Frontale, we all had high hopes for Kawasaki, but going into the Champions League, just between the group stage and the game against Ulsan, they lost their two best players to Europe, and it completely gutted them. They had injuries as well, and they went into that game with completely half strength compared to how they have been. And so that was really disappointing. They've got back to form after that game, but yeah, I thought it was a bit cruel that the two teams that came away with 100% records got drawn against each other in that round. But they lost that turgid affair on penalties, so that went their hopes. But I don't think the last two seasons they've been weird Champions Leagues, haven't they? They haven't been. Yeah. So I expect next season Kawasaki should be in there. Yokohama are getting back to where they were under Postecoglou, and Kobe should be the other three. Maybe it's Nagoya as well. So I think we'll have a good contingent next season.
Yeah, and there's no lingering concern over the past couple of years, because like I say, I think last year especially it was all in a bubble for the most part, and then this year has been similar. So I mean, next year's going to be a bubble again. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know if there's cause for concern just yet, especially because last year I thought there were some good performances. And look, Nagoya could technically still go and win this whole thing. So
absolutely, I'm backing them to get through Pohang at least. So yeah, and they'll give Ulsan or Jeonbuk a game in the semi-final if they get there.
Well, and you're perfectly teeing me up here. I was going to ask for the prediction. You've got to say they're going to go through. I mean, you can't come onto a K-League podcast and not say they're going to go through. But what's the final score going to be? Is it going to be 1-0? Is it going to depends? What are we getting here?
I think Nagoya are going to win it 2-0. I think they'll get one goal, sit back on it, and they hit Pohang on the counter-attack. As much as I would love to see another 4-2.
Oh, wouldn't it be great? Matthew, get in here. What's going to happen in this match?
I think, well, Pohang have probably got the best manager out of the three K-League sides here in Kim Ki-dong, I think. But unfortunately, he's the best manager, in my opinion, for a reason, and that's because his squad is getting gutted. It was, you lost another star player over the summer. They are edging through, but I just think this is one battle too many for them. I don't think they can get past Nagoya here. So a narrow defeat, I'm going to say. I shouldn't be saying it. A 1-0 to the J-League side.
Oh, Matthew. I just put this up on the screen for those watching live. Captain Picard, if that's what we're going for, because of the shaved head here, I am absolutely loving it. That is my captain of all of the captains in Star Trek. Just had to get that in there because Star Trek references are important. And other things that are important, Sam, if people want to see you and they want to learn a little bit more about J-League, and I know we always talk about the rivalry there, but it is a fascinating league to watch. It's entertaining week in, week out. The talent on display there speaks for itself, and we're seeing talent from Japan go abroad and do amazing things. If folks want to follow you, where can they find you online?
Yeah, great. I'm on Twitter at FR Soccer Sam, and then every week me and Ben Maxwell do the J.Talk Podcast, which, just as good as yours. Let's hope. Let's hope. Yeah, we've got a nice little friendly rivalry, I think, between the leagues, so that's always good. So, catch me there, and we've got. Well, you have to listen to the Japan national team coming up this week, and the travesty of that. So maybe skip that episode and join in next week.
That's the one Korean football fans need to tune into because things are looking dire.
Little pick-me-up from the Korean national team now.
But all sorts of good things going on over there. And then who knows, Sam, maybe we'll have you back on next week to talk about Nagoya Grampus and a semifinal of the Champions League. But for now, we'll let you go. Matthew and I are going to take a quick break. And on the other side of this break, we're going to welcome in Paul Neitz and Alex Grant. We'll be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Thank you much for joining us. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Can't complain. Like I just said to you, I've got a few days off now. Over on Jeju, my first time here, so enjoying it so far. Lovely weather. I don't know if that's normal for this time of year in Korea, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. The spring seasons and fall seasons are the best time. Like, as I'm sure you've already experienced it in the summer, it's a bit humid.
Oh mate, unbearable at times.
Yeah,
I tell you, coming from Perth, and obviously it's hot, and we play in the summer over in Australia. You can climatise and you get used to the dry heat, and I don't mind it, to be fair, but this summer in Korea is something on another level. It's and the mugginess, and you step outside and you're wet through. It's tough.
Yeah. But from a team's point of view, how would you say the season's gone so far?
I think probably not as good as what we would have liked and what we would have hoped, if I'm honest. I think the start we had was promising, and we definitely showed glimpses over the course of the season. But just unfortunately, we've just not been able to maintain the consistent levels of teams above, and it's probably killed us in a sense in regards to our position on the league. I think we've let ourselves down in a few games, and everyone in the squad could probably hold a hand up and say, at some point here or there they've made a mistake or whatever. And as footballers do, everyone makes mistakes, but we've not sometimes always been able to bounce back from those mistakes well. And you've seen over the last month, we lost 4 in the bounce before the Guangzhou game, and it was great character from the lads to turn that game around at the weekend. So I think that's been probably the most disappointing thing, is the fact that we haven't been able to maintain that consistency. But there's definitely been promising signs and good areas of the season which we can look back on and be proud of. Obviously, these games that come to mind, ones that I played, and obviously the Jeonbuk away was a good win. And there's been a few more as well, especially at the start of the season. I think the boys got grounded out some really good results and played really well. And we've had injuries and I'm not using that as an excuse, but the squad has probably chopped and changed a bit more than what we would have liked. And that's probably been a contributing factor as well as to where we are in the league. But one thing I've noticed in Korea since I've been here is the fact that it always feels as though any team can beat anyone on the day. It all depends on who shows up. I think the playing styles of the majority of the teams are all pretty similar. I think, just going into a game with the right mentality and the right attitude and the desire and hunger to win definitely is a real key factor, I think, in winning in the K-League, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It can be a very hard league to predict results and scores and that, because like you said, it just depends on which team it is that turns up on the day.
Yeah, definitely. And that's how it feels sometimes as well. And I go back to the game against Jeju the other week when we got beat 4-2 at home, and it was probably a real low point for us in the season. And I think turning up that day, everyone obviously felt confident. Everyone wants to win, but you kind of got that sense within the first 5 minutes that this might not be our day. And when that mentality kind of spreads throughout the group, then it can be very hard to pull back. But going back a week before, we were away in Japan playing in the Champions League, and the resilience that the team showed there and the character was unbelievable. And to get a result there and get us through to the next round of the Champions League was immense. So it just shows you, like I said, that it can just be a case of turning up on the day and getting the result.
Yeah. For you personally, obviously, like you said, you're a bit unlucky with injuries in your first game and that. Then obviously now you're back in the team, you are a regular. Was that a bit of a relief to know that after that time out that you were able to sort of work your way back into the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I first came to Korea, I had a month. Obviously, I had to quarantine when I first arrived, and I had a month or so with the team. We went down to Changwon for 10 days. And then I finally got back to Pohang with the group, and I felt confident and felt fit going into the season and was really looking forward to it, as you obviously are. And it was such a shame for me to break down in the first game like I did. And we weren't anticipating it to be as a lengthy stay out on the sidelines, but unfortunately that was the case. And to get back for the Champions League was kind of my goal towards the end of my rehab. I think we obviously had to keep pushing it back when I come back to playing, and I think I had my eyes set on the Champions League, and the club, the manager, everyone was good with me and wanted me to get back for the Champions League, and they were good with me over there, and we had a lot of games in a short schedule, so the minutes I got were really good, to be fair, and they didn't just throw me in and play me 90 minutes every game, because I would have more than likely broke down again. So it was good that they managed it well in that respect. And since I've been back, I feel like I've been playing well, and obviously the results, like I said, haven't been the greatest over the last month or so, but we have picked up some important wins. And like I said, the team on the day can turn up and play brilliant football. And I think one thing that we have shown, Pohang especially, is the resilience and how we've been hard to beat over the course of the season. I think teams find it very hard to break us down. We've defended really well. Before the last few weeks, we probably had the best defence on the table-wise in the league. So with regards to least conceded. So that's been definitely a positive aspect. I think obviously the one area that we need to look at is creating more chances and scoring more goals to push us up that table.
Yeah, well, like you said, there's the ACL coming up again quite soon. Obviously, you made your way out of the group. It was Pohang's first appearance in the competition since 2016, so a bit of a long-awaited return. Obviously, now you're into the quarter-finals. Is that probably the minimum that you expected as a team to make it this far?
I think the way the Champions League, the way the games were scheduled, and I think the qualifying rules this season have been slightly different. Is that right, compared to last season's, where even if you finish second, it wasn't a guarantee? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, there's one extra group now, so it's all about best placed second teams and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's right. So I don't think especially as foreigners, we weren't probably aware of that going into the tournament. And it was one of those things we kind of found out last minute whilst we were there, which is generally the case. But that was one thing that was probably going against us, because I felt we did have a tough group, really. We had obviously Johor, the Malaysian champions, who, you know, were a very good team, and Nagoya, they've obviously proven over the years how strong they are, and they probably were the best team in the group, and deservedly so. And even Ratchaburi really were no mugs, and they fought out a tough 0-0 draw against us late in the group as well. So, I mean, we were always optimistic about getting through the group. But like I said, I think when you compare the other groups, we definitely had one of the toughest ones, and especially with the Aussie teams dropping out and a couple of the Chinese teams as well. It made it easier for some of the other teams in the other group, but we were solely focused on the job at hand that we had, and I think we did well over there. We played really well, and that 1-1 draw against Nagoya in the last group, so that was a really important result, and here we are, like you said, in the quarters.
Yeah, it can't be easy as well going over to play against Nagoya in Japan. But you've got them again now in the quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on that draw? Are you happy to avoid playing another K-League team, or you play a team that you've already played this season? You know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you could say so. I think we've definitely probably got the hardest fixture. I think Ulsan and Jeonbuk, they're familiar with each other as we are with them as well. But I guess we're lucky in that respect that we've played Nagoya already a couple of times. So we kind of know their style of play. We know how strong they are. But, like I said, if we turn up on the day, there's no reason why we can't get a result and get through. And it's a one-off game, which, can work to our advantage in a stadium that we sort of familiar with, whereas Nagoya might not necessarily be. So, I'm confident that we can get a win. I'm happy that we don't have to go to Japan, if I'm honest with you, because I don't think I could do another 2 weeks of quarantine or isolation or whatever it is. So they've kind of done us a favour, the AFC, in that regard. So yeah, I mean, I think the boys are looking forward to it, and now we've got a good 10 days or so before the game to prepare. That's going to be really important.
Like you said, yeah. The fact that it's not a home game, but it's in South Korea, that is an advantage then, isn't it? They have to come all the way over here. It's not going to be easy for them, is it?
No, I mean, it's only an hour flight. It's not.
It's not, but yeah, there's a lot of traveling involved. You have
to travel, but
you can't fly to Jeonju and that kind of thing. It's not as if you can sort of fly straight there and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely that familiarity and probably the annoyance of having to travel, get on a bus, get on a plane, get on another bus, in a hotel. All those things that contribute to an away day.
Yeah.
In Asia, so I mean, it's something that I was used to playing in the A-League with. We had it every other week, so
fair enough. Yeah,
maybe I don't mind doing it.
Yeah, true. Well, the game's also been played over one leg and not two. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, like I said, I mean, with that being the case, it's almost like a final. So whoever turns up on the day and goes for it, it's like when we played Osaka the other week, we would definitely, you could tell within the first 10 minutes that we wanted it more and that we were going to get the result. And so we have to set the tone from the off, I think, straight away.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned it just before that obviously you want to sort of try and get more wins in the league and work way back up the league table, because obviously you want to try and qualify for Champions League next year. Is it kind of ironic that sort of you are looking towards qualifying for next year, but you have the ACL this year as a little bit, not as a distraction, but it's kind of balancing two things at once.
It is in a sense, I guess. I mean, the schedule this season has been, an anomaly and has been hectic. And the breaks that we've had is, and then backed up with busy schedules has been crazy, So it's been very demanding on the players physically and mentally, because of the travel as well. I think, especially this period is one of the toughest to be professional football, if not, anyone. Everyone's struggling all over the world, but yeah, it's definitely hard when you're traveling and going overseas, playing in the Champions League, away from family, especially as a foreigner as well, when really you don't have anyone. And, you know, my wife and my son are stuck in Pohang, and, you know, they don't have many friends here. So it's definitely, it's all those things that kind of contribute to it, to making it a lot tougher than what it generally is or has been in the past. And like you said, we want to finish as high as we can in the league. So that's another important thing. And we've got one game really, another final, I guess, against Incheon now, where we need to win that and hope that results go our way as well, so that we break into the top 6. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in the fact that we kind of rely on other teams, because you know, you always want to go out there and win and know that by doing so we'll get you in the best possible position in the league. But unfortunately, we're not in that position, and we don't have that luxury. And so we get in the top 6, and then we know, as we've shown over the course of the season, we can beat some of the teams that we played in those top 6 positions and push higher up the table.
Yeah, I just want to ask you a little bit about the perception of the Champions League in Australia, because obviously you were involved in the ACL with Perth Glory. Is it seen as a less important competition for A-League teams, do you think?
I don't know. It's a massive competition. When we won the Premier's Plate with Perth and we broke into the Champions League, it was obviously their first time that they've been in a competition, and it's regarded as the biggest competition domestically in Asia, and is highly regarded in Australia. So all the teams want to get into those positions. It always chops and changes the rules as to how you can qualify. And I think they've lost half a spot or a spot over the last 3 or 4 years or so, and that's probably because of the way Australian teams have performed over there. But I mean, in Australia, you do have the disadvantage of the travel. I'm backing it up with a busy schedule. You could be playing in Perth or wherever in Australia, and then having to fly straight from that game to an Asian country, say China or Japan or even Korea for that matter, and then flying directly to an away game back in Australia. So the amount of miles and Ks you're racking up over the course of the period you're in the competition is, you know, it's crazy, but that's obviously what you have to deal with when you're playing in a competition in a continent that's so big. But yeah, like I said, I think the fact that the Aussie teams dropped out, I don't know for sure, but obviously it's because of the logistics of quarantining, and because the quarantine matters and whatnot in Australia are so strict. I think logistically it's just impossible for the teams to take part in a competition, and then obviously they've got their league duties as well to consider, which probably are more important for the Australian game than competing in the Champions League at this moment in time.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about, obviously, you've scored a few goals as well recently, 2 in quite quick succession. Is that something that the manager wanting to try and make advantage of? Obviously, your kind of physical presence in the box and stuff?
Not particularly, no. I think I probably could have had a couple more going back to the Champions League, and I missed an absolute sitter against Ratchaburi when we drew 0-0. Scarred it over the bar from 5 yards out. And then I've had a couple of half chances back in the league since I've been back playing. So I always feel like I'm a threat. And like you said, I've got that physicality in the box and whatnot over the pitch. So it's something I still think I need to work on and improve. The 2 headers that I've got have been good goals, to be fair, but the results haven't gone our way in either of those games. So you take too much from it. Yeah, it's always good to get on the score sheet, but it really only matters if you win, doesn't it? So it was a bit disappointing in that regard that my first goal in the K-League was a loss against Ulsan, a derby, which would have been nice to have got the winner. But yeah, it's something I need to keep working on. It's funny, I was telling my dad about it. I was watching the Prem and just watching Thiago Silva when he scored the other week. I can't remember who it was against. And I was just watching his movement, and then because in the past I've always bolted into the box and, you know, try to give everything. And I thought, oh, well, maybe tomorrow I'll just take it easy. Just watch the flight of the ball, watch it come in, and then react off the ball rather than me going too soon and trying to score a worldie. But it worked. So yeah, some I'm always looking at change up what I do, my style, and it's always good, like I said, to get on the end of one.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's more goals to come, and goals in wins for Pohang as well. So, mate, thank you very much for your time. Good luck against Nagoya, and of course, good luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. See you later.
Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at KLeague United with any questions, comments or reactions. Or follow us on Facebook to ask directly during one of our live shows.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, and I am joined only by Matthew Binns.
Hello.
We kicked Sam out. Couldn't have that much J.Talk talk around here. The man's busy. He's got to go. He's got things to do. And I don't think he really wanted to sit through a Jeonbuk Ulsan segment just pining for... we should have asked which team he would rather Nagoya face should they get through, but we didn't. So we're going to have to wait and ask that one next week. But Matthew, this is the match that I think a lot of neutrals are looking forward to throughout Asia. This is a match that we talk about all the time. It is the marquee match that's happening this Sunday at 7 p.m. Korea time. It is Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors hosting Ulsan Hyundai. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about it again, because we always talk about it, but we don't always talk about it in ACL, and I think that's going to change things a bit here. But Jeonbuk coming into this one, how have they been looking lately?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that neutrals might be looking forward to it in Asia. I'm not sure neutrals will be looking forward to it as much in Korea, because the fixtures between these two this season, well, Ulsan have won one, but two of them have been goalless draws with not too much shooting. But Jeonbuk, recent weeks, since coming back after that laboured affair against Pathum United in the previous round, they've had 4 K-League matches. They've won all 4, conceding just once in that time. Still not scoring many, though, 6 over the 4 games. But it is encouraging, though. It's a team that looks like they are now turning the screw on Ulsan. They are 1 point off Ulsan in the league at present, with the split still to come, which we all know Ulsan fans and Ulsan players thoroughly enjoy.
Yes, indeed.
There's been a bit of a depletion in central midfield of Jeonbuk as well recently. They've had to... They've had absences. Kunimoto's been a bit of an unexplained absence. He's been out for a while. Lee Sung-gi, Chae Young-jun, Ryo Jae-mun have all been missing as well. Meaning a regular partnership has been forming in central midfield between Kim Bo-kyung, Kim Sung-dae and Paek Sung-ho. Plus Son Min-kyu and Min Sun-min on the wings have been slowly getting better. Chae Young-jun and Lee Sung-gi, it should be said, are back, sort of. Chae Young-jun did return against Gangwon before being taken off before the 90 minutes. So we had the issue of coming on and being taken off as a substitute. Not looking good for him. He should be all right, I think, for this one, but I wouldn't be picking him. We'll probably be talking who we'll be picking in a minute. But Lee Sung-gi does look like he will be back. And with Kim Sung-dae probably being the weakest of that midfield, it'd be quite good to switch him up with Lee Sung-gi for this.
The line breaker just getting thrown under the bus like that, Matthew. How dare
well,
you?
you've got 11 players. Well, you know, when you verse Ulsan, you can't really afford to have any passengers on there. And I want him to break this rut of form he's found himself in, but not when it's this much on the line. You can't afford to gamble with the likes of a player that's not really going to do anything.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and speaking of players that aren't doing anything, let's switch that up and talk about players that are going to be doing a lot of things. And who do you think, who are you keying in on for this one to be the player that's going to make it work?
I've got the one I want in my heart for it to work, but the one that I think in my head it's going to work. I think...
Go on with the heart first.
Paek Sung-ho, I think, is the narrative. I think he has been, these last 4 games, we've really, really seen him come to the fore. And he played really well against Pathum United as well in the Champions League, it should be said. He I can't remember what the stats were put out by the AFC, but I think he was he was like top 3 for passes or some points or something in the division. He was in the round. He's been doing really well, and that's been showing in the K-League. He seems to have this newfound confidence. He scored 3 times, and I don't know how he didn't score against Gangwon. He's suddenly been put on all the set pieces, and he's seems to be a phenomenal set piece taker. His free kicks are really, really something, and could probably give Jeonbuk Garam a run for his money on the other side there for Ulsan. I noticed the K-League have put out today some Jeonbuk Garam highlights. Well, we'll see. But yeah, I think he would be the one I think everybody is looking forward to seeing. A neutral would be looking forward to seeing. Hopefully he'll come back from Korean national team duty able to play, but I see him starting and having a big influence. He's been, what I've really liked about him as well, he gets a lot of stick sometimes, I think, well, previously, especially by national team supporters, for not doing the full job at the back defensively.
Sure.
And I don't see that. I said the other week in the podcast, a couple of podcasts back, actually, when I watched him against Incheon with Peter, he was phenomenal. It was the way he came back and he was committed. And the last 2 games, he's had to be a defensive midfielder with Jeonbuk reduced to 10 men in both games. So he's been really good. I think he's one to watch out for. I think, however, the sensible choice, if you're looking for somebody who probably will have a big influence, that's Captain Hong Jong-ho in central defence. Not just because we have an interview with him on K-League.com, but also he's been a rock for Jeonbuk this season in defence. And yes, he stopped Lee Dong-jun with that clearance against Ulsan last time out. But it wasn't just that. That whole game, that whole performance, he kept the likes of Ose Hyundai, and he was really commanding at defending set pieces against Ulsan. I think Jeonbuk need him to have a big game, because it's weird. We're talking about Jeonbuk's defensive players, and that's probably all credit to Ulsan. Because we don't know how this one's really going to turn out for Jeonbuk.
Yeah, like I say, I think there does need to be a lot of emphasis on the defense there because of the threat that Ulsan have. But going the other way, Jeonbuk have a couple of very big attacking options there. Gustavo is up for the Golden Boot this year in ACL. I believe he is now 1 away from Michael Olunga.
That's
one
right.
Away, yes. He has 8, and Olunga still has 9. Dude hasn't played an ACL in months, and he's still got the Golden Boot for now. But somebody else that is going to be a key figure in there is Stanislav Iljutcenko. And you spoke with him via the interwebs, via the videos earlier this week. So let's go ahead and hear what he had to say.
Yes, we're happy here and everything is good. To be honest, we don't have so much time to enjoy the life because of the tight schedule with the K-League and AFC, but everything is good and we're happy. Yeah, it's always nice to play with players which you played before or which you know a long time, and Yeonjun and Mingyu I know from Pohang, and we had a great time in Pohang, and I hope we can have a great time here in Jeonbuk too. Yeah, I think because of Corona it's a little special this year with the Champions League. We traveled to Uzbekistan and played the group stage there. Now all our games will be here until the final in Jeonju, in Jeonbuk. And yeah, it's a new experience, new teams from different countries, and I think so far we did a good job and everything is going like our plan is. Yes, definitely. I think in the group stage we had 1-2 clubs who was little weak or weaker than the K-League, to be honest. But also we play against a Japanese team, the team was really out of quality, but which we could beat and in the group stage. Definitely, me, I think we have a good relationship. We played many games against Shiva, and I think I know him well, and he knows me well. Of course, he's a good centre back in the K-League, maybe one of the best. And I think we will have a good fight in the match, like always. And I hope it was a better ending for our team. So it's difficult to say. I think this match against Ulsan is always a 50-50 match, two teams with a lot of quality, and I think every team can beat the other team. Now in the AFC, in the quarter-final, it will be a 50-50 match. We play at home at our stadium, and of course we want to win this game, and I hope we will win. Difficult to say. In my opinion, if you want to win the AFC Champions League, you have to beat every team, or you must beat every team which you face off, and it doesn't matter you play against Busan or any other team. I think all the teams who are now in the quarterfinals are strong, so I think for us there no difference. Of course, it's a big rival of us, Busan, in the K-League, and we will see. If you want to win the Champions League, you have to beat everybody. Yes, of course we can. I think we have a lot of quality in the squad, and if we can bring our quality on the pitch, then we will be sure one of the candidates who will be in the final this season.
That man is inspiring a generation. Going to get out there, going to get to the final, Matthew. And I just want to say that that Japanese team was Gamba Osaka. And you know what? They were probably second best in the group there. Jeonbuk didn't have too tough of a group, to be fair, to Big Stan there. But I do expect him to be a massive part of this game plan, just because he usually is. And speaking of the game plan, what do you see as the key battle in this one?
I think it's whoever takes on Lee Dong-jun, to be honest. He's been very influential in the last couple of games for Ulsan, against Jeonbuk, that is. He's been influential in the league as well. I think he probably will be up against Kim Jin-soo. I mean, if they switch him to the left, he could be up against Lee Yong. I think either of those fullbacks could have a bit of a torrid time with him. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Lee Dong-jun did beat Kim Jin-soo once in a Busan game, and Busan fans never forgotten about it, apparently. But Kim Jin-soo is an experienced left back, and they're going to get plenty of practice against each other at the national team level this week. I'm sure all those fullbacks and Lee Dong-jun, they're all learning each other's ways of playing, and I think that could really be a key battle there. So that's where I see Jeonbuk really could be tested at fullback.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. And both of these sides, we know them well, obviously, but there's just so much attacking potential on both of these teams. But before we're going into Ulsan too much, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we did manage to pry Dan away from the lovely shores of Goje Island down south to give us a little bit of a preview of how he sees this one going. So here's what Dan had to say.
Having knocked out the current J-League champions in the last round, Ulsan Hyundai head to Jeonju to face the reigning kings of the K-League, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, in the quarter-finals of this year's Asian Champions League. But there's something strange in the air. There's not the usual dread amongst Ulsan fans going into this fixture. In fact, I'm pretty relaxed. Well, that's because for once, the Horangi are arguably under less pressure than their luminous green foes. Ulsan are of course defending champions. They are on a record-breaking 16-match winning run in this competition, and, perhaps most importantly, they are unbeaten in 3 games against Jeonbuk this year, winning 4-2 on their last visit to Jeonju. Now, I've heard several pundits say that Ulsan should be favourites to retain the ACL title, but I'm not so sure, to be honest. Overall, this is almost certainly a weaker squad than the one that beat Persepolis in the final last December. There's no Junior Nagao, there's no Shin Jin Ho, there's no Jong Seung Hyun. That spine of the team has gone. And the odds are stacked further against them in this particular game because it's only one leg and it's going to be played in front of Jeonbuk fans in Jeonju. But in terms of the players Hong Myung-bo has got, he's been relying on some excellent performances from his young stars recently. The likes of Sol Young-woo, Won Do-jae, Lee Dong-kyung and Lee Dong-jun have all been fantastic since returning from the Olympics and have given Ulsan a much-needed shot in the arm going into the crucial last months of the season. But for this game, the key player for me on Sunday will be another of Ulsan's up-and-coming stars, target man striker Oh Se-hun. Despite his relative inexperience, Oh has been tasked with leading the Ulsan attack after the departure of Lucas Hinterseer, and I expect the 22-year-old to use all of his physical prowess to bring in the likes of Valery Kizishvili on the left and Yoonbik Garam as a playmaker, bringing them into play. Tactically speaking, overall, these games usually come down to fine margins, so I expect Hong to ask his pacier players to try and force errors out of Jeonbuk's weaker links, for example, the goalkeeper and fullbacks, by latching onto long diagonal balls in behind. We saw something very similar in this year's previous meetings. My mind goes to Lee Dong-jun with that late chance that was cleared off the line by the Jeonbuk defender in the last game. In terms of a prediction then, well, as I say, I really think it's now or never for Jeonbuk. The pressure's on them to deliver a final or at least a semi-final. They haven't been there for a while. And of course, they have to be favourites because they're playing in front of their own fans. But Ulsan do seem to have a knack of getting the job done in this competition at the moment. I reckon we're going to go to extra time, maybe even penalties. And we all know how much Jeonbuk do love a penalty shootout, right?
I'm just going to say I understand reaction videos now, being in the green room with Matthew while that one was being played. You took slight umbrage to the goalkeeper and fullbacks, to Sungbum Kun and company, being thrown under the bus there. Do you think they're up for it? They good to go?
Sungbum Kun's had a couple of notable mistakes this season, but he's also had a lot of notable saves as well. He's a very good goalkeeper and maybe not having the best of time at present, but I don't think he's the weak link in the Jeonbuk side. Fullbacks, he's got a point. I think Ulsan do have pacey wingers. As I've already said, I think that could be where they expose Jeonbuk.
Sasalak to save the day. Just saying. I know he can't play, but just one thing to note there. Dan mentioned a couple of times playing in front of their fans. I do believe that this is going to be played behind closed doors. At least that's my understanding as of right now, which is a shame. But
yeah, it's a shame. But I don't know how you'd really be able to do it unless you're going to allow fans to travel, and they're not allowing fans in the K-League to travel.
Right.
Not away fans. Yeah, away fans can't travel to games
Correct.
in the K-League, so it'd be a bit harsh just to have Jeonbuk in front of their own fans. But yeah, they're not. There should be no fans in the stands. I know from the Hong Jong-ho interview, he's not expecting any fans in the stands, so he could be in for a surprise if they're there. Yeah, but that's where it is at the moment.
Yeah, big old shame there because again, I think it just even a few fans in there, 5,000 even, it just makes such a massive difference. And when this was announced, I think we were all hoping that we'd be a little further along and that could happen, but it won't for this Sunday. Who knows? Maybe something will change this Friday and the government will allow some fans in for the semifinal. I doubt it. And who knows if Jeonbuk's going to be playing there or not, which leads into the last little bit here before we get into the mailbag. Matthew, what's going to happen in this game?
I think, as alluded to in terms of key players, key battles there, I think it's kind of accepted that Jeonbuk are probably in the position of being in the back foot for this game, which is an unusual situation for Jeonbuk in a fixture against Ulsan, considering, yes, they have won. Ulsan did win 4-2 early in the year, but that's their only win in their last 11 meetings with Jeonbuk. Jeonbuk do find the way past Ulsan, and Yeah, it's going to be interesting. 2 0-0s as well, as we mentioned. Jeonbuk probably going to play this very tight again. Could go to penalties, as Dan says. Jeonbuk don't have a good record on penalties. They did beat Pathum United, it should be said. So perhaps, who knows, perhaps the curse is broken. I think it'll be 1-0. I think there'll be an Ulsan centre-back mishap as per usual in these big games, and we'll see Jeonbuk sneak it.
1-0, says Matthew Binns. I'm not going to say, yeah, fine. It's going to be 0-0 and go to pens. It's going to be 0-0 and go to pens. I really hope I'm wrong, but that's just what we see in this matchup so often, and we've seen this matchup so often. It just really feels like that's what we're looking at, and then it does come down to a crapshoot with pens, obviously, and I personally think it's going to be Jeonbuk moving on. But we'll talk about that and a few other things in the mailbag, because we got a couple of questions about that. But we're going to take a really quick break, and then we will be right back.
O.G. Lewis is your neighborhood British bar and cafe located in the Old Giro district of Seoul. Decorated in old English antiques and furniture for a true homely feel, you can enjoy homemade scones, cakes and afternoon tea during the day, and traditional British favourites like beef stew, English ale, and a fine selection of wines at night. Available for private parties or simply an evening out, O.G. Lewis is sure to become your favourite neighbourhood pub. Be sure to mention K-League United at the bar during your visit, and you'll get 10% off your bill.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, and we are hopping into the mailbag. It's a very quick edition of the mailbag this week, which is good because we're at about the hour mark. But Matthew, what do we got?
I got Jong Hyun via email with 2 teams. He's asking, with 2 teams entering via playoffs next season instead of 1, do you think Korea will still have 4 teams representing the country? I think in the group stages.
Sure. I'm going to say no. I honestly think if we're looking at, 4th place team, 3rd place team this year, which right now we're talking about Suwon, we're talking about Daegu. Those are the teams that are there vying for it right now. Anyway, I don't know that. I don't know. I never want to go against a K-League team in these playoffs, but the beauty of these playoffs is that you really never know what's going to happen, right? Like we've seen A-League teams go up to Japan and beat a J-League side and get in there, right? So crazier things have happened, and again, I trust Daegu to get it done because they've been there a bunch. But if you got a team like Suwon that was playing in K2 last year, who look great right now, and I'm super happy with the run that they're on, but maybe that's a bridge too far. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think just to kind of clarify for everybody who's listening, I think it will be the title winners and the FA Cup winners that will go directly into the group. So if Ulsan do the double, then it will go down to 4th in the league. But unless we can expect it might just be the top 3, because I don't think Ulsan have it in them. But that's another question in the mailbag for a minute. I think if Daegu are in the top 3, Daegu will get through. They know what they're doing. It's an experienced team. Suwon, it'll just be interesting because it'll be a new territory for them, and perhaps they'll do it, perhaps they won't. But if it's Daegu in 3rd, and that's the lowest team qualifying in the league, then I think we'll see all 4 teams again in the group stages. Or who knows? Maybe 2nd place Jeonbuk will, in that scenario, would mess up the playoffs. Who knows? But yeah, we have another one. We have Neil via Instagram direct messages, and that's very simple. Can Ulsan win the treble?
No, because they're facing the Jeonnam Dragons in the FA Cup, and they're going to lose. So no. I think they'll win. They're going to win something this year. I don't know what it's going to be though. I think they have the capabilities to win 2 things. I don't know. Ulsan is still a team in transition. They're a promising team. I think they need 1 more year to be at the level the manager wants them to be at. At least they've got a manager who seems to have a vision, who seems to have a way
he wants them to play, and he's building towards that. Jeonbuk, on the other hand, I think are kind of bludgeoning their way through with depth at the moment. No, I don't think they'll win the treble. They'll definitely win Summit. Maybe they'll win 2 things. I'm not going to say which ones.
You knew that was my follow-up question. Was going to be which ones. I mean, it would be outstanding if they could win back-to-back ACL titles, but I don't think. I think of the 3, they want the league the most, and I think. I mean, financially speaking, they should want ACL the most because it pays way more than winning K-League does. But I think that honestly, just for Korean football in general, we almost need them to win the title this year. We've got to see somebody else lift that trophy. So if they do only get one, I just really hope it's that one. And honestly, at this point, I know I give you guff all the time. It's really not even against Jeonbuk. It's just that we just have to see a different team lift the title.
No, we don't.
We have to.
No, we don't. Anyway.
Well, like I said, it was a short mailbag this week. Anyway, Matthew, if folks would like to get involved, get in their mailbag questions early, or see some of the shenanigans we get up to, where can they do so?
They can find us all on social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all at K-League United. Whereas you can also, if you want to support the website, you can support us at patreon.com/K-League United. We have a number of features, exclusive things over there. We have So Rare features where we give our predicted lineups for the $10 tier. For the $5 tier, though, we do give the latest injury news and information. We also have the full-length feature interview of Alex Grant, and we also have other interviews and things going on over there as well. Tier start as low as $1, but there are also $3 and $5 tiers available.
Excellent. And before we get into the last little bit, we did get one last question that came in via the live stream here, asking if Jumin Kyu from Jeju can win the Golden Boot this year.
It depends how serious Jeju take it after they make the split. They might just be content with making it to the top 6 and fall off the face of the earth a bit. But yeah, why not? I mean, you could say exactly the same with Suwon and Losveld. Both are K-League 2 teams that have overperformed. Well, I don't know, but they've definitely performed very well, and they could do what Gwangju did and just show up and say, well, we're content. If doing so, then maybe Jeonbuk's Gustavo Iljutcenko could catch up. But the thing is, that's 2 Jeonbuk players trying to catch up there. I don't think both of them are going to get the game time they want. So it is between Losveld and Jumin Kyu, I think, for the Golden Boot.
Yeah, I would love to see Jumin Kyu get it, just because, I mean, he's been a podcast favorite since we've had a podcast, from the times before we had a podcast, from our first year of existence, when Steve Waddell was covering Seoul Elan, talking about Jumin Kyu playing for them back then. I love him as a player, and I would love to see him and a Korean striker get that. But I think, like you're saying, I think with Jeju specifically, I think they're going to just be trying not necessarily not to get embarrassed, because they have had a good season, but I think they're going to be more aiming to save face post split, whereas Suwon is looking to secure an ACL spot. So I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, and I do see Lars going and getting that Golden Boot instead. But I'd love to be wrong on that one, because, like I said, big Jumin Kyu fan. We'll see. But that is about all the time that we have for this week. And before we go, I will tell you that if you'd like to listen to this podcast live, you can do so every Thursday on Football Nation Radio down in Australia. And if you leave us a review wherever you download your podcasts, then we will enter you into this month's K-League kit contest. There's always something glorious going on there. The Daegu FC kit has been shipped out. That one's been given away, and we'll have a new one up there very, very soon. But for now, for Matthew Binns, I'm Ryan Walters. Thanks so much for watching.
정주성 공격 복귀 김신우